I just had a conversation with Chrissy Hodgins, who is a spiritual teacher, an incredibly positive person, and she's teaching people how to be more empowered, how to be more happy, and how to find more success in their lives. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and if you do, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on more videos like this. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming on here.
Oh, you're welcome. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing very good. What time is it in? Where are you based?
I'm just outside of Toronto here, so it's just a few minutes after 7 p.m. here.
Got it. So same time zone. Yeah. How's it going?
It's actually going well. So I don't know. I know that your podcast, I just recently discovered you, and
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to go and explore your YouTube. And did you know what stuck out the most was the cutest little guest that you had.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why people listen is my daughter, Margaret.
It's her name. I thought you called her Margaret.
No, Margot.
Margot, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a cutie. And you looked unfazed when she spit up. It was like a dad
Yeah.
thing. Like,
It's just like a normal. She spits up a lot. I don't know why, but it's a normal thing. Every time I brought her on the podcast, she'd spit up on me, like perfect timing. That wasn't like, some might think that was hours of like editing and I got the perfect shot. It was like as soon as I got her on 5 minutes, she just spit up on me.
oh, it was adorable.
Yeah.
And it's really cute because you get to really know you're putting you're doing little quick clips of wisdom and insight, and you're having all sorts of different people come on, and you're a real person. You're so down to earth, and you're showing life. And your daughter, I thought it was a really nice way to get to know you was just to kind of browse around your YouTube.
Yeah.
To see that side of you.
One of the things that I don't like is like podcasts, but any videos really that are just like overly professional and overly scripted. And that it took a lot of scripting and editing work for that podcast or video to come out, and it comes off fake. Like that it's fake. And I don't like to edit many of my videos unless I do the short ones, obviously. But I try to just be me. Like if we were to have a conversation, me and you, like at a bar having a drink, it would sound very, very similar to this. And that's the point of it, is just you're getting authentic conversations. And that's when I think you can learn more about people too, as opposed to just like very stuck up professional types of scripted work. And so I try to do that in my videos.
I have to say that that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give anyone, because being a course creator and someone who's trying to reach my audience, when I put together, I could spend hours on webinars and what I want to say, but you're going to have this audience in front of you that are golden. They're going to ask you what they're seeking. They're going to speak to you. You just start it. You get the conversation going. And I find that's the best organic types of webinars that you can have. And so I'm new to selling. I'm new to, because I've had in person prior to COVID, prior to the pandemic, I was in person with all of my workshops and my services. So I'm learning a lot about trying to still run my services and my offerings as a business, but still keeping it real and still keeping that connection, because you don't have to lose that, because that's what service is all about. It's about connecting and really being emotional and empath and having empathy in your business, really meeting people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it must have been hard, like the first few weeks, turning it all virtual, like connecting with people. We go from in office, talking to people. Maybe you get like a little chatter in before, like everyone sits down and you get to know people. Hi, I'm Chrissy. And then you talk to them. And now it's just like you log on and people are just like in boxes. How did you deal with that first few weeks?
Well, it was interesting because I had to cancel my in-person things, but I was using Zoom, but not to the degree. And I had kind of dabbled with it. But then all of a sudden, my clients were asking, why don't we do Zoom? And I only just responded to the clients told me that they were ready. And I just did a webinar that was, I threw up. I'm a big meetup.com person. I don't know if you are familiar with
I am.
meetup.com.
Yeah, I've done a couple meetups.
Yeah, so I love it because that's where my audience was in my hometown, in the GTA, as they call it, the Greater Toronto Area. But I know that with the pandemic, they opened up the perimeter and then we were allowed to put online links. So it was like perfect timing. So I was able to build my audience and it was fun. But also, I kind of had to learn how to feel the room in a different way because we're not sitting here and we're seeing each other physical. And we unconsciously connect through language beyond words. So I had to learn how to really facilitate and connect with people by a different level of reading and reading the room, if you will.
Yeah. I have so many questions into that. So, but first, let's just what do you do? Because before we go too deep into it, I think people should probably know what you do. It seems like you host sessions, but I'm sure there's a bigger picture of like what that looks like. So what do you do?
Okay, so I am someone who started off on this career just really wanting to overcome, life, like, struggling with relationships, not having the career of my dreams or not really knowing what that looks like. And I started to go on a spiritual path, which connected me to this intuition. And I was, I already had this psychic mediumship interest that I would have, random things. But the more I learned to meditate, I developed this skill of being a psychic medium. But then I noticed that I was still missing a piece. I was still seeking how to connect the pieces to really live from my soul. How do I overcome this fear? How do I self-actuate? How do I self-regulate? So all those other pieces, yeah, I could open up and experience divine, but I still felt like I wasn't managing my life. So I went on a new journey with mentors and became a mindset coach. So I can bridge the gap between the spiritual esoteric wisdom, but also I like to really speak from a place that's not overly like I don't know how to say it without insulting anybody because I follow so many amazing people. But I'm not a colorful person. I'm very to the point and basic. I like to deliver it to the words and the vocabulary that the average person can understand.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my wife thinks she's a psychic. She thinks she knows what's going on. She thinks she can. Yeah, she thinks she's a psychic. That's funny. I don't know how real that is. Could be half a joke. But one of the things that I try to do on this show or podcast, we'll call it, is practical stuff.
Yeah.
Like mindset coach. I've heard spiritual coach before. I actually think that tapping into your brain and like setting time to just think and to almost change your mindset a bit. Like people have experiences where I don't know whether it's a struggle in life or for me it was reading a book, which was weird because I never liked reading before, but I read a book and like my mindset changed. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And like I just was a different person after that. So I totally believe there's many parts, but there's two parts for me. It's like one is your mindset is so important. And then though practical advice on how to live better is also a big thing that I talk about on here. Sometimes I might get too practical. Sometimes I might just all talk practical stuff, but I do think like mindset, motivation. I talk about like a car, like you need the gas. You need the gas to get the car moving, and that's like the motivation. That's the mindset. That's the thing that's pushing you forward. That's the drive. But then you need the tools. You need to be able to steer. Otherwise, where you're going, you need to be able to brake and hit the shift if you use a shift. I don't even know what the hell a shift is. I never think I ever used one, but you get the point of like, I think both are needed to live a successful life.
I love your analogy, because if you can take that a little bit further, the car being our vessel here on the physical plane, the gas, if you will, is that energy that we're part of. That's the body, the emotional guidance system, the thoughts that can actually trigger an emotion. An emotion could either fuel you or take you down. So I think that gas is really important. But also, I like what you're saying, the steering wheel. How about we say that it's a vision? It's having this longing in your heart that's your GPS, that you're using as this desire from soars in your heart, and you're driving in that car. But what if you keep putting the brakes on? And that's how I help people. I help people from recognizing you got a dream, you've got this vessel, you are equipped with you have the capacity within you, the fullest potential. And people call it like this genius zone or whatever that is. And I love it because I help people to actually have the process of stop putting the brakes on.
You know, those brakes. Brakes are the fear, right? What would you say? That's the fear almost? Maybe it's the fear?
Fear in the back seat.
How long have you been doing this for?
Well, this has been a journey since 2007, and I've been studying and working with mentors in consciousness and really going on meditation retreats to really understand how my mind is the master of my life, because it didn't seem like it was, being a victim, right? So then that's why I really wanted to. I knew I wanted to choose to feel better. There was a will that was stronger than the conditions of my life. And like you hear the words. You know, nobody's told me these principles before. Nobody told me that it's a thing, that these are, that, you know, so many different things were a thing, like busyness syndrome is a thing. I just thought that was normal. Like, aren't we all busy? Like, that's an example, right? But really, when people point it out and they tell you there's a tool, try this, it changes your life. Just like when you read that book, something in your consciousness remembered. And for whatever reason, you processed and had a different perspective. Because everything that we heal, a thought, an emotion, a physical, is a change in perception. And that opens up a whole new paradigm of understanding. So I think reading and understanding, but practically using them, because we need to experience them in order for them to become within our neurological system, right? We need to be able to feel safe creating new habits and taking that action step.
Yeah. So you went on a lot of meditation retreats. You
said. Meditations. Oh yeah. Have you heard
any interesting ones? What was your favorite one?
Vipassana.
Vipassana. Where's that?
Well, I went to the one here in Ontario. It's about 2 hours north of the city. Okay. And I really enjoyed the lessons on becoming conscious of your inner body, of your inner being. Because I was so used to having my head outside of me, and my thoughts were everywhere, that I was trying to analytically figure my life out or my pieces through what I knew from the past, what was going on in the current situation. That I, just like you, like going into your inner being, it really allows you to see a broader perspective, not just from a one-sided point of view, but many angles. So I feel like that was huge.
Yeah, I never really liked meditating, and then I don't know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't really get the concept down, and I didn't feel like I was doing it. So one thing that got me into meditating, which now I love to do this technique, it's like amazing. I forget the book, but I read a book, I think it was called like Social Anxiety by Haiti Cooper, I think it might be. But one of her meditation techniques, to me, I think for people who are starting out and who are a bit skeptical on meditating, to me, it was a practical way to meditate. Instead of just sit down and let my thoughts go everywhere and feel better, which I know I'm simplifying the hell out of that. I know it's way more in depth than that. It was using like a mental exercise while meditating. And it was basically what I do is I sit yeah, I don't have to sit down, but I envision myself walking down a path in the middle of the woods all by myself. The path is a bit elevated. It could be like 100 feet elevated on like a steep cliff, and each side it's like maybe a 5 foot narrow path, but it's in the middle of the woods. And I walk down this path, and when I get an anxious thought, or I get a thought that has been weighing me down, it's metaphorically resembling a big boulder in my way of the path. So you're supposed to pick up the boulder. In this, maybe I'm a bodybuilder in this example, because I'm not picking up boulders in real life, but you pick it up and you're supposed to feel how heavy it is, and and then I throw it and I watch it like tumble down the path, and it's supposed to resemble a weight lifting off your shoulders. And then you keep doing that until all the rocks are gone. And then after that, like I just envision myself like at the end of the path, there's like a grass field, and I just like there's friends and family. It's like a whole experience that I can create. It's like a movie I'm creating in my head. And then after it, you feel much better. And to me, that was like it was a way to use meditating, of like allowing thoughts come into my head that I know are weighing me down, or are part of a big anxious ball that's in my head, causing more anxiety, and also allowing me to like almost make my own vision of like where I am at, like in my meditation. I'm making my own path. I watched a rock tumble down. It was like a sort of an exciting experience while meditating. And that's how I started getting into meditating. I found that really useful for myself, if doing a more practical thing like that.
Yeah, visualizing is visualizing and then actually seeing yourself releasing, surrendering, or willing it to surrender it, get rid of it, or at least put it to a side, because you're up leveling your emotional state and you're feeling more in charge. I feel like that is an incredible process. It's there's the other one where you are and I think that's valuable, because many of the meditations that I bring people through is to use that creative imagination, because that's a big part of our connection with our infinite mind, where we can begin to bring new insights. You're using your visuals to bring you into a place where you emotionally can connect with, to have that peace and space, because we have bringing yourself back into your mind, back into your body, to create that space so that you can begin to surrender and release and completely transform your energy. So I think that's very powerful. Yeah.
I see you got is that a Buddha behind you, or what is that behind you?
This is a Buddha. My friend traveled to Sri Lanka and brought that back years ago. So nice. I tend to use it for a background once in a while. It kind of moves around with me if I'm doing any. But it has a home on a stand. But I just propped it up for you today.
Does that help you like feel like you're more relaxed, like in your environment when you have that?
I love it because my ego tells me, because our ego is so useful and it cannot be useful, right? But I love it because when I see an angel, or when I see a crystal, or when I see a Buddha, it reminds me of that peace. It does. It reminds me that I am connected to this infinite, and I am not separate, and I don't have to push and struggle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're great reminders.
Yeah. I'm a big, so I'm reading a book right now. I forget what I think it's called Thinking Fast and Slow. And it's all about like our psychological, maybe call it downfalls of, we all think we're rational thinkers, and then a lot of it's just like your brain thinking really quickly and probably biased in certain ways. But there's a concept they hammer home. It's called what you see is all there is. And it's just like what, and so if you see a lot of news about bad events, you just like project that and you think that's happening a lot. Somewhat related, but maybe not entirely, is why like it's similar to like a self-affirmation in a sense, where I think if you keep seeing positive things, for example, a Buddha meditating, if you keep seeing positive things, I feel like that's good subconsciously for your brain. And you may not think it, but this constantly seeing negative things cannot subconsciously be good for you. Like if you're constantly watching news of bad events happening, which probably is a small, tiny percent of what actually happens in real life, but constantly putting in front of your face bad things, I feel like subconsciously it doesn't make you feel more positive. And so, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on self-affirmations, but I feel like they might be overlooked. They're like funny to look at and you might not think about them, but if you really take them in and you look at, it doesn't even have to be a self-affirmation, maybe just reading like more inspirational books or
Mm.
inspirational quotes or just feeling and thinking good. Like I feel like those things
My
help you.
queen of the affirmations on post-it notes. My mentor said to me, about 3 years ago, I had this amazing course, and I learned that unless you are telling yourself a new story, how you ever going to become that version that you so long for? And I'm thinking, that's right. So I started this affirmations, which, by the way, I used to discard. I used to say, yeah, affirmations are good, but I didn't value them. Yes, they're useful. They can tweak your energy and make you feel better in the moment. But over time, you could really reprogram your personality by exactly what you're saying. And I also wanted to add, when you talked about your environment, seeing things in your environment, it's so conducive to your well-being. If I'm not saying we need to go to a mountain and to be a guru to practice that, but there is a degree, we're all human, where we need people that really do support us and that say, like, remind us when our faith is wavering, remind us who we are when we're like doubting it. Like, I feel like your environment and the people also that are in it, not just affirmations, but that's what feng shui is all about. It's about placement and space and, using the energy of nature to really bring that energy within us. I think that's a great idea. So yeah, I have the news, but I don't watch it unless it's like, I am not a Tinkerbell, but I watch it when I feel I need to. But no, it's not something I wake up in the morning to.
Yeah. Yeah. Not me either. Do you write? Do you like to write?
I do.
I find writing one of the, when I have something weighing on me and sometimes, I don't meditate that much. It's like when I'm going through like deeper struggles where I may want to do it. But like if I have something weighing on me, I feel like writing is so good to just get something off of your mind. And I don't know, it doesn't even have to be like solution. Sometimes you just have 5 or 6 thoughts jumbled in your head, balled together. And until you write it down and just externalize them, I feel like it's hard to unravel that tangled ball in your head. So I find writing very helpful. Sometimes if I'll just go and write an email and like just write things down. And like, if I find something bothering me and I feel better, I'm like, oh yeah, now that I see it on paper, it seems like a decent plan. Like I feel good about it. Do you like to write?
I love it. I love exactly what you're saying. I'm also somebody who likes to talk. So I will fake a conversation. If I got stuff on my mind and I feel overwhelmed and I'm uncertain, I record my thoughts. So if I'm walking my dog or if I'm walking, clean the house, I have a recorder and I'll just walk my dog, or I'll take a moment to talk to myself. I'll even sometimes do a prayer and I'll say, God, like, what do I need to see here? Help me to see through the function of the ego so that I can have clarity and peace. And then I begin to vent. And that I always hear my voice, but that I also hear, because I'm satisfying my ego. And I'm also getting to make space and room for higher consciousness, for truth, for resolution oriented thinking, for creative insight to come through. So when I finish, sometimes I just delete it. I don't need to, but sometimes I play it back and I'm like, wow, that helped me. Also, pen to paper. It's like, think about where your heart chakra is. When you're putting pen to paper and your head is down and you're reflecting within your inner being and you're opening up your heart to that real authentic self. And that you could write whatever your heart says because it's secret, nobody's going to read it, you have no limits. You begin to just channel from your soul. It really is like heart chakra pouring down your paper where you get that, you know what I mean? It's amazing. So, yeah.
I talked to someone the other day who was, I think, a spiritual coach, and
Mhm.
he phrased it as, it's funny, yeah, very interesting person. He phrased it as the words rose to his pen.
Yeah, amazing. That's really cool to think of that way. Like Yeah, like Da Vinci, who said, David, the statue was there. He just chiseled it out. That kind of channeling.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
So you started doing all this in 2007. What, like, did you
And
always
then
have this desire to be a life coach, or am I what?
no, this is interesting. I was a psychic medium. I was teaching people modalities. I used to have experiences like, we would have sit and meet a stranger in a bar, and then I would know things about them. I used to salsa dance, and I would have this download of information about people. And, at the time, I would think, oh, I'm just a good people reader, even though they were very like facts. And then eventually I took courses, and because of the meditation, it helped me to tune into it. But then mindset came when, even though I was practicing being what you would call light worker, spiritual teacher, and teaching modalities on meditation, divinational tools, mediumship, I felt like my own personal life wasn't fulfilled. I was still struggling I was still working full time and part time working, taking readings and doing workshops on the weekend and loving it. And the more I opened my heart to that passion, that purpose, it was difficult for me to walk into work on Monday, where it was abusive, where I worked in a very toxic environment. And so I eventually had that fork in the road where it was, I gotta do something. I had health issues. So I began to get life coaches to say, why am I afraid? Why am I sucking the life out of myself and not living in my life purpose? And, dark night of the soul, where I was depressed, health issues. I was, I was dealing with emotional eating up and down through my life. People didn't know things about me. There was a mask on where I would show up. So since then, since the last 4 years of my life, especially in the last 3 years, when I finally took the leap and got uncomfortable in life, overcame those insecurities, I recognized who I was on a different level, but not by, because I had to take experiences. I had to go out and be willing to, who cares if I fail? It's just feedback and information. And so I had to change my perception on what failure looked like, what my worthiness looked like, and all those pieces to be seen, to be heard, to be enough. And the fact that I was able to begin to get comfortable, like if you would have asked if I would have said yes to this podcast a number of years ago, no. But now I'm so excited to help people to overcome that insecurity and that lackness that we all want to be approved of. Some of us are so afraid where we self-reject and we don't allow ourselves to take that journey. And I'm here to help women, especially, to really know that they are not broken, they don't need fixing, and that you are whole. And so I kind of went off on that, but so that's how it started. And that's why, yeah.
So then you met a bunch of life coaches that mentored you along the way. Is that how you, and then
amazing therapist who taught me all about so many different aspects of psychology, which related to my life. And as I unveiled those, I became a lot more liberated and more confident and empowered. Yeah. And then coaches.
And then after the life coaches, after your experience dealing with the life coaches, is that when you said that I wanted to be myself a life coach? Because I want to do this. I want to do this to other people.
Yeah, I was a spiritual coach, and I did a certification years ago where I was spiritually coaching, and I was using my mediumship and my divine workshops. And yes, I've always wanted to know how to bridge that gap, because people will say, well, what are you? I'm confused. But when they come for a divine guidance reading, I have learned to really unveil the function of the ego, the fears. And so through my empath nature, through my ups and downs, Hard Knocks University of Life, my experiences, I was able to see transparently into others. And so I was very called to be a coach. And I figured it out where I would do awakening and empowerment coaching because it bridges the gap from my beliefs and my experiences as a spiritual being of service in a spiritual way. And I also teach people the principles and consciousness and meditation, and to really connect with their inner being, to override the ego, and to really, so, yeah.
There are many people out there who think psychics are fake. Did you have to work through that? Like when you walked into a bar and you found someone and you just knew facts about them, like what facts would they be? It's so interesting. Like, do you just know that they like have like a dog? Like, how would you know that? It just comes to you?
Yeah, I just, one person, I was dancing with someone and I felt that he was the only male and he was the youngest of all women, and he wasn't raised by his parents. I felt like he was raised and doted on by his older siblings or aunt. And I just felt that it's an essence of a personality. And for years, I would see like a tool belt, which meant their occupation, or I would feel into their essence. And, for a while there, that's useless information. What am I going to do with that? Like, yeah, I could feel somebody's essence, right? But then eventually it developed with having the right courses, the right mentors, and learning to do so in a way that felt safe for me. I became a psychic medium within 2 years, just recognizing that we're all energy. I know that as a skeptic, people who are skeptics, I don't really attract them. But when I used to do events, when I was working in the corporate environment, I only had the weekends and evenings. So I'd always be doing angel events or psychic mediumship parties. And every once in a while, I'd have a couple of skeptics. And I found that even when they would sit in front of me, I was able to get information. The more you open your heart and the more you allow me to be comfortable too, the more I am confident to give. So it works both ways. A skeptic is someone who's closed off and they're more difficult to read, but they're also not really giving me the confidence to read, but I will it to be so. I'm like, I'm gonna let you know that if divine is here, I'm gonna allow myself to experience it. In many cases, I was always able to turn them around. I had a lady who did not believe, and her father came in and he showed me that she had a brother, and she goes, yes. I said, your brother is very angry about his passing. And she cried because it was relevant. It was true. So just that information. Yeah.
But did you use like cards? I always found it interesting how you could just flip a card and like that seemed like random. Like that, there's no way that card could have related to that person. Like how would that happen?
Yeah, that's a big topic when, I teach angel card, and I've actually studied tarot, and it's always amazing because when we pull a card, what we're doing is we're using our own discernment. So I once pulled a marriage card for a client. And this was when I don't use divinational tools so much. I like to play with them on my own, or they're a nice little added complimentary. At the end of the session, I'll pull one, but I don't use the cards.
Yeah.
But I pulled a marriage card for a client once, and my gut, I felt it. Like, no, she's not wanting to be married. In fact, I felt like this dissonance, like, I don't want to be married. I want to be married to myself. I want to get to know me. And I said exactly that. And she goes, yes, I just called my wedding off. So the marriage card came up. And so your discernment is from within you. The cards are there to guide you. So not to go into a big course, but yeah.
Got it. That makes a little more sense. So it brings up like a topic, and you start saying like, how is this relevant to you, and what do I think about it?
Yeah. And just
interesting.
Like dosing's the same way. Like if you were to have a pendulum and you asked a question and it ended up, you knew that maybe circles were yes and back and forth was a no, your gut is going to accept that answer, yes or no, because you are your highest authority. You're going to feel into it and intuitively discern. That's what neurolinguistic programming is all about. It's science, our ability to really discern through our muscle testing. I don't know if you've discovered that.
I have not. We can get into it though. I have no idea what the hell that means.
Okay.
Maybe linguistics. What is Linguistic programming.
It's neurolinguistic programming,
Oh,
which I'm
neurolinguist.
a licensed practitioner, but I've had it done to me many times. And it's literally, your body knows. Your body cannot lie. Like if we are the ability, if I told you to lie and tell me your name and I had your arm really tight and I went up to you and I said, now lie, give me a lie, say your fake name. And I went to try to push down on your arm, it's almost like this energy field becomes less grounded and looser. But if you were solid in your truth and you stated your name with confidence, I would have less ability to pull down your arm. So it's like our body doesn't lie. It's another way to explain this is if I were to tell you to imagine cutting a lemon and bringing it up to your nose and smelling it and tasting it. Maybe even like feel like using all of your senses.
It's giving me, I don't like lemons.
Right. So you might be getting a salivation, you might be getting a tension in your jaw, you might be getting salivating because you know it's that tart sour. Right. So your body is not going to lie. Your body's going to experience that. And so when we are discerning, our body knows. That's what a lie detector is. That's how we know when people are manipulating or when we know that there's someone trying to pull the wool over our eyes. There's this inner knowingness that we don't often make use of. And that's what intuition is. It's not woo-woo. Intuition is every single person on this planet has the ability if they're willing to listen to their inner being. So being psychic and medium and all of that, I feel like one day it might just be a normal way that we live our life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's probably energy or something that you pick up from people's interactions that it's hard to explain. Sometimes you just pick up weird energy from people and you have no idea where it's from. It's not like they give you, it's not even like they give you a look. It's just like, this is weird and you can't explain it. Yeah. So like I feel like there has to be something beyond the communication that we can see and look at and hear that is a little bit unexplainable, because there are certain like feelings and intuitions that aren't entirely explainable that people have. And I don't know how to tap into it. I just know it exists. So maybe that's where you come in.
The Heart Math Institute and also speaks to this, and I've done testing. It's very interesting to go on and YouTube and watch that, where the magnetic field of our heart has a brain of its own. And they did studies where the body responds emotionally before they showed a card or an image, and the brain was secondary. So we have this intuition, this emotion that would match something. It's almost like it knows. So also another way to explain this is we're like radars. Like we have this magnetic frequency that, that keeps us alive, that it's sort like what people know, it's the essence of life itself. It's source energy, whatever you want to call that. It's in every atom and we're a part of that. We're not separate. And that field with beyond the physical eye can be experienced. And sometimes if somebody's in the room or we pass somebody or we go into an environment, we feel a mood shift or we get a funky sense. Oh, I don't know. I don't really want to sit in this chair. I think I'm going to go to the next train car, or we just, we feel it, but we don't consciously know what it means. That's one way of describing how people might sense things, because it's the energy. It's the way in which we intermingle. But what the phenomenon is how can I sit here with somebody who is, across the world in Australia or France that call me for a reading, and how am I able to tune in? It's because we're all one. We're all part of this pool of vibrational energy, and we're not separate. And I think another analogy would be if you were to take a musical instrument, a guitar, and you would place in the opposite side of the room another guitar, and you strummed, say, the C string, and you plucked it ever so slightly, that other C string would also be vibrating because it's a match vibration. So it's our ability, that's what they Einstein and those people talk about. It's to raise your vibration, right? But I really feel like we are all vibration, and where we hang out is what we attract more of. And that's where law of attraction comes in. Mhm.
Is this now what you're teaching, like in your classes? So you have now, you're doing these webinars or these Zoom meetings where you're teaching people.
Yeah.
Is this what you're doing? Is this the type of stuff you're teaching?
I've been teaching empath, like I have an empath empowerment course tomorrow night, but I also teach awakening and empowerment, how to help people to become aware. And I also work with people who don't necessarily want to become a psychic medium, but I'm helping them to really tune in and live from the soul more, because they have this open mind where they know that there's more than just this physical reality. And so I have these open people that come to me that are seeking to really unveil what's causing them to feel overwhelmed, stressed, lack clarity, and not being able to propel or to even know what their life purpose is. And a lot of it is self-worth, attached to an old identity, attached to the security of the life it is. So that's one aspect. Through those courses, we do have conversations like this, but most of these conversations are reserved for other the other journey that I take people on, which is the divine communication journey, which is all about, really opening up and bringing people to understand the esoteric wisdom, the concepts that are out there in the mainstream and the new age information that's coming through with Dr. Joseph Dispenza. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr.
No.
Joseph Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and all those other people. Okay.
No.
Yeah. I just love their teachings. And so a lot of what they share is really about us. We're superhuman and we have been told otherwise.
Yeah. I think that people have unbelievable potential, and the brain is just capable of so many damn things. If you can just think and motivate yourself towards anything, I think you can accomplish it. Um, so do you own your own company, or is this like another company, like the
I'm a
way?
sole entrepreneur and I'm
Oh,
ready
baby,
to
let's
go.
go.
Yeah, I'm a sole entrepreneur all by myself, but I have a business coach, and my husband's a big social media guy. So he's been giving me tips. He's been like, Chrissy, you got to get out there consistently. And I'm like, but I'm so busy creating content and working one-on-one, right? I've been doing it in the way I feel feels good. And it wasn't until recently where my husband's been telling me this for like years. You got to go out on there on social media. And it wasn't until I got a business coach that's saying, do these 3 things and you will shift. And I couldn't believe I did those 3 things. And I began to open up a whole new avenue of reaching my ideal people. And my husband's like, I've been telling you all along.
How do you reach more people? Like, I know you do it through the internet, but is there a certain way that you
Oh,
do
it's just
outreach?
getting out there and actually sharing and, really sharing some content and having fun with, showing people who I am and really speaking, because people are asking me questions in my courses and my clients are always asking me, Chrissy, or I'm also known as Kirsten. They're always saying, could you help me with the fear of going out again? Can you help me with, heaviness about empaths? I'm always getting questions. So now I've decided to do just share with what's going on so other people could learn from it. It's just bring quality and content in a way that's digestible. And so I'm still learning. I'm trying to be quick and quality without losing the message. And I'm learning how that you have to do it often. And another way, I've opened up Facebook groups. I love this new platform. Facebook groups. I've been avoiding it for years, and I've got 3 groups going, and it's so much fun. And because it's private, like I'm not speaking to like everyone, I think my mind feels so much more real. Like I get to share what's on my heart and really present the content in a different way. It opened up a whole new aspect of what's within me.
Do you ever find that your posts get rejected on a Facebook group? I feel like sometimes I have really good stuff to say, but it might come off like, "Hey, I just want you to listen to me because I feel like I have a good thing to say." And then if it comes off like a little bit too salesy, it gets blocked from the post. And I'm like, "Ah, well, I thought that was a good post. Why are you blocking this?" Do you
Yeah.
have that issue at all?
I've been looking back and I've been saying, now, which one is going on? Which one goes better? Because like you said, it's an energy that we're presenting, right? And the ones where I'm just my uplifted, energetic, excited self do well. I'm like, oh my goodness, if I'm just myself, they work. And the other ones, if I really want to sound like, I got this, and it's like, nobody shares it, nobody but it doesn't bother me. It just gives me feedback, and I says, I knew it, right? And so, yeah, I totally hear you.
Social media has a weird way, though, of giving feedback. Like, it might not be perfect to what people actually need, which is interesting. You know, the whole Facebook crap going on, and I don't know what other platforms are doing it, but the concept is that, you know, more controversial posts or things that maybe aren't the best for people, like short controversial content, get prioritized. And so it's not sometimes, well, the groups that you're probably in are not like that, right? Like you're in personal development groups, they're not like that. But other areas, if you're just posting on broader Facebook, I'm sure like the stuff that we're trying to say like aren't getting prioritized over like some political thing. And so it's harder to get like real good content that help people. It may not be controversial, but it helps you. And that stuff tends not to do extremely well. But then sometimes you find things like I find investing tends to do really well on YouTube for some reason. If I talk about investing, so sometimes it might, like I had one post that got like 2,000 views in like a few minutes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen on like when I say eat, you should eat well. Like those, my eating healthy ones don't get any views, and which is one of my biggest issues. It's like we have a horrible diet, and we're getting so many illnesses, and we're all looking at each other like, what could it be? Well, you're putting crap in your body, and what do you expect? And then I talk about it. I'm very excited when I talk about it because I went through a whole thing where I've had heartburn for so many years, and it was excruciating, and it could have led down a path of like esophagus cancer, and I didn't realize that until I start. Like, I wasn't close to it, but I'm just saying it was very bad, and I've read books on it. You know, just knowing the information how this could have led down if I never like took a different path on how I ate.
Yeah.
But that's just one example. There's probably many examples where people's diet is leading to bad illnesses. And so when I talk enthusiastically about it and I see not that much traction on that, but more on things that probably won't help you, will just excite you and get you angry.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, well, social media, you could be doing a little bit. Well, I guess it's the feedback from the people, but I wish people would watch it more because I feel like it would help them more.
That's exactly what was happening to me, where I was having very diversified conversations, and I would talk about intuitive Tuesdays, and I did wisdom Wednesdays, and I would have like celebrate, like I would try to keep it against a theme, but it was very spread out in interests. So I found that I was a mixed message to people. And the fact that, you've got so much wonderful, valuable things to share. And the advice that I was given was, allow yourself to really speak to what you most want to and focus on it. So I've narrowed it down. I don't share really woo-woo things. It's all practical, intuitive, awakening tools. And I feel like that's me, and that's where I'm comfortable right now. Will it always be like that? Heck no, because I want to move back into eventually talking about all those other things like food, and really sharing when I can diversify that audience even more. And who's to say that you can't open a different podcast on a healing journey of gut health?
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, I'm not stopping just because one of those posts didn't do well. My whole thing here, my whole thing here is I do not give a crap. I am going to be me, and I will say what I think is important and what I think will help people. And if this podcast doesn't go well, I really don't give a crap. I'll try the hardest I can. And if it doesn't go well, I'll do something else. But I'm not going to I'm not going to just be,
I'll do like one or two takes. Andre, my husband, is like, do one take. I'm not that level, but I'll do like one take and I'll feel it out and I'll say, no, I could say it better. done. And then I'll go and edit it. Before, it wasn't like that. It was like, I don't know if I should post it. Maybe I should wait, right? It was like when I was starting out a few years ago. Now I'm actually if not even, I started out a few years ago, and then I would only do 1 or 2 a year. And then it wasn't until this summer where I finally felt ready. And I was playing around, and you could see all the different ways I changed my on Instagram. And then finally I feel like I'm still evolving, and who knows what it'll look like in a year from now. So I'm just learning the ropes, and I'm getting comfortable just learning new ways to articulate what's within me so I can evolve. And I also love learning from other people. I'm always jumping on webinars and sharing other people's contents on Facebook. And I love that. I feel like it's collaboration. It's not competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. What I find is when you're doing a short video, like for example, we have never done a multiple take on this conversation, and we won't do multiple takes. It's just a conversation. But you tend to have, when you do shortened videos, you need to because like some platforms like TikTok or something, or an Instagram post, you have a certain amount of time. So you're trying to fit everything in very quickly and concisely, and try to say it like without messing up. And it's very hard. So I mess up my words all the time. But when I'm on a conversation here, I don't need to do that. But when I'm on a strict time limit, I mess up all the time. I'm getting a little better at it, but especially in the beginning, I would like have to do multiple takes. And yeah, but with this, it's easy because I'll mess up words. I'll have to think. And that's fine. And because it's a conversation. But the shorter videos tend to get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. I totally hear you. I know exactly what you're saying. And I feel like just the more we get to share that topic or content, the more that we can deliver it in an easier flow. And I feel like that's what I'm practicing. That's what I'm working on. Even as a teacher, I've taught, when I first started teaching back in 2014 was the first time I opened up a classroom. And I was
physical classroom?
Yeah, physical. I opened up my home and I had 26 people here, and we practiced divine tools. And I was so scared, but I was so excited because my heart knew that I was only gonna get better. And I was tired of saying no and procrastinating on what soared in my heart. And I took that leap. And of course, half the people returned and the other half said, oh, she's too nervous, or, and so I ended up overcoming and learning how to share, learning how to facilitate, So every time I said yes and got more uncomfortable, there was also just as anything is, just as we are opening up the law, like there's like everything, chaos and harmony. There's always, it feels chaotic, but there's always some harmony that's coming into play to up level it. So that's how I look at it. It's like, I'm just learning, I'm evolving.
Well, 50% of the people who came back, that's a good conversion rate.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's 50% conversion rate. That's pretty hard to get.
Yeah, 50s. And it's grown ever since. And
nice.
Yeah, I'm very, I'm honored that I've been able to have the clients and the people who are aligned with me. And I find that the clients who really resonate with me, they're like my friends. I think that's what coaches are about, right? You really do want that mentor, friendship, of course, boundaries. There's boundaries, but it really does feel like this. Mm-hmm.
Do you still do it at your house?
No, but I actually I ended up getting a treatment room as I began to develop my practice. I ended up having a lovely space, and I use a local museum, and all summer there's artwork on the walls when I do my in-person sessions. But I have not yet done an in-person class yet. I'm just all online right now. I don't know if I'll switch back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to switch back, except for meditation. I miss the meditation circles.
Yeah. I mean, the people who you do classes with, are they all over the world?
Now they are. Before they weren't. So I am so excited. Like I've been meeting people in all areas of the States, and even, in Europe, and I was so excited to meet all sorts of people that show up. And so my time of day, I do evenings, or I want to open them up more on the mornings to accommodate this new influx of people. It's been such a wonderful way to really reach more new people, not just in my community. I used to think that my business was going to be like brick and mortar, like I was going to open up a treatment room. But then when the COVID came, I recognized that that was limiting, that going online and being a service in this way has really shifted me from feeling I needed to have that to it's cheaper.
Yeah, I mean,
Paying,
it's
yeah.
cheaper, but you're reaching more people.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense not to do it. You know, if
Mhm.
you had to like invest in like if it was 20 years ago and you maybe had to invest in like this crazy camera and like some video service, maybe, but like right now it's so easy that like what's the reason not to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the practical stuff that you talk about? You say you have some practical advice like that you post online. Like what are some concepts that you talk about?
Okay. So TikTok is where you've got maybe 15 seconds to really state something. So when I go for a walk in the morning with my dog Sheba, I think about the aspects of my courses and modules and the things that I've that's transformed me in my life. And I'll put it into a few sentences. And I've started to do this, and it's been so much fun. And I actually been getting a lot more traffic because of it.
Yeah.
And it's been nice. It's easier because I'm not having to sit there, script and edit a video and add it. And no, it's so much easier. It feels better. I'm liking this new way of doing it. My husband's a big TikTok. He's a big social media guy, so he's been drilling me for like years to do it. I'm finally doing it, and he's like, shorter, light the background. He's like, make it shorter. And then, so he's been sort of being that drill army sergeant. And I'm like, okay. And I'm getting it. I'm getting his tip. When he gives me those tips, I have realized that he's right. He is so right. And I was in resistance to it.
He sounds like he's like an advertiser or something. Does he work in advertising? Like how is he so good at all the social media stuff?
He's a businessman, but he's also big in social media for a hobby.
Got it.
Yeah. 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 I'll
So
tell
what
you
is
after.
okay, what is your favorite book you ever read?
Oh my goodness. Oh, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, way back when I was lost.
You can say that again?
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. When I look back at it now, it's not my favorite, but in my life where it transformed me the most, it taught me that I was the source of my own, I had to be accountable. That what happened to me was because on some level, on unconscious level, I was attracting it. And affirmations, she's a queen of affirmation. She has since passed away, but yeah, that was one of the biggest life transforming books I've read. And since then I couldn't stop the spiritual self-help, self-development stuff, because it was incredible. Yeah.
I will add that book in the link to the description for people who want to give that a read. I'm assuming I can get on Amazon. I would assume if
Oh, yeah. It's big. They have
yeah.
coaches that You Can Heal Your Life coaches now all over the world because of that book and her teachings.
Got
Yeah.
it. Do you have your own book? You
I
like to write? So you're ever
I
gonna write one?
actually I have a product that I'm creating, but I'm also doing a book on signs and synchronicities. And also I have a bunch of duotangs, because notebooks where I've wrote all about empath empowerment, unhealthy, all these things that are sitting in my office in the other room, where I would love to compile it into a workbook book. So that is what I would love to do. And it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But right now I'm laying down the foundation of my business, and then the more I have that time and freedom, I plan on putting more into it. But right now I've been focusing on the signs and synchronicities, because
Nice.
it's came to me one day when I said, oh, I wonder if, because people are always coming to me and asking me, how do you discern external signs? Like, I see numbers, I see things, like, does it mean anything? Is it just in my head? And the more that these clients, these students come to me, I was thinking one day, maybe I should do a workshop on signs and synchronicities. No sooner did I say that, a monarch butterfly was trying to get in the window through the California shutters here. And it was like the sign. It was a sign.
I look forward to seeing those things you're going to be writing, the book.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I will have to add all of your social media and or website links in the description here when I post this. So you send them over to me so I can add those all.
I will, Chris. Thank you.
We'll end it off here at the hour. I'm coming up on exactly 60 minutes here. So thank you very much for coming on. And this was
such a pleasure. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, and keep kicking ass with your business. Keep having other people kick ass. It seems like you're helping women a lot too, helping women overcome a lot of their mental blocks, and that's awesome to see. So keep doing that because you're making the world a better place, and I'd love to see you just keep growing personally and professionally.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thanks again and have a wonderful night.